Every year, the Scottish SPCA rescues thousands of domestic pets, horses and farm animals and wildlife. We're on the front line with the charities, inspectors and rescue officers to see the lengths they go to in saving Scotland's abused, abandoned and injured animals. Coming up, the rescue centre at Cardonald turns into a part-time hair salon.
I'm not going to be able to take it right down or anything, but I'm just going to try and take the weight off it.
And Connie goes batty in West Lothian.
Have you got a tea towel that I could borrow?
Firhill in Glasgow, not far from the city centre. Senior Inspector Billy Linton's on a follow-up call.
This is the second time I've been at this address. Put a card through before, get no reply. And had no reply to the card.
There's an allegation a cat's being badly neglected. The owner agrees to talk to Billy, but not on camera. There's obviously a problem with the cat's fur. The owner isn't able to groom it at the moment, so Inspector Billy will need to take some action.
Sorry, but the owner wouldn't let you in. The complaint was justified, in as much as the cat was matted, and it is quite heavily matted, but not matted in a way that I've seen before. It's more like dreadlocks rather than biting into the skin and causing, eruptions and various things. So I've spoken to my chief inspector because the cat's 18 years old, and we've come to the conclusion it would be best for the cat and for the owner if we took the cat and managed to get it groomed and into a reasonable condition to return to the owner. And if this happens in the future, to contact us.
The cat will go back with Billy to the Animal Rescue Centre at Cardonald. They'll have a proper look at it to see how bad the mats are, and then decide whether or not this moggy will have to undergo surgery to get them out. There are two large swan pens at the charity's Wildlife Rescue Centre near Alwa, and they're usually pretty busy. Swans are brought into Fishcross for a variety of reasons. They might have swallowed some fishing line or a hook. Or they could have damaged themselves in a collision with a vehicle. Or even by crash landing on shiny tarmac they thought was water. This big guy swallowed some lime and has been convalescing at the centre for about a week. It's time to take him back to his family on their pond near Livingston in West Lothian.
Yes, sure, how are you doing? Cheers. Was this the one Connie brought in the other week, was it?
Still a lot better than it was when it first came in anyway.
It's looking much perkier.
Oh, thanks, aye.
Right, perfect.
Right.
So that.
Very much.
The Swan belongs on Deadridge Pond, and his partner and their 6 cygnets will soon be welcoming him home. Sooty, the cat with dreadlocks, is about to be examined by Cardonald's assistant manager Katrina Kavanagh.
Just trying to take some of the weight off the cat here because the mats are obviously quite big. I'm not going to be able to take it right down or anything, but I'm just going to try and take the weight off it. So if it'll stay still for us. It's not the worst, but it is pretty bad. Just not getting the right grooming, right attention, things like that. I mean, the cat doesn't seem to be in any kind of distress or pain or... Come on, pal. Turn round. Just getting a bit fed up here.
Sooty's getting crabby. So Inspector Billy steps in to help hold her.
Billy, if you can give us a wee hand. I'm just going to put it onto the table. Just to make it a bit easier.
It's a bit of an ordeal for the OAP moggy, but she's been as well behaved as you could expect.
Right, if you can hold the cat there.
Katrina's done as much for Sooty as she can.
I think that's probably as best we can do it just now. The vet will need to deal with the rest.
Animal rescue officers get called into a huge variety of jobs. Dogs and cats are the most common, and bats are amongst the least.
Hi, SPCA.
But that's what's facing Connie O'Neill today in Ecclesmachan, north of Uphall in West Lothian.
How did you discover the bat?
I just came through to answer the phone and I happened to look down and there was this brown thing just at the bottom of the door there.
Did you get a fright?
No.
No.
No, I didn't get a fright, but I thought, what am I going to do with this?
You did the right thing to call us because obviously they can bite.
Well, I wouldn't touch it because I didn't know whether I would harm it or anything like that.
I mean, they're quite delicate, but they're handleable as well.
It stretched its legs when I moved that wire back a bit. And really quite thin, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the wings are like a pair of tights. They're so delicate.
There wouldn't be any more about the house.
They usually it's just one that finds its way in.
Is there?
Yeah, I don't know whether you've got bats that fly around here or live locally.
You see them quite a lot.
Yeah, sonor's maybe a wee bit off, that's all. So, if it's not injured, what we'll do is we'll release it back outside.
Connie has to figure out a way of getting the bat off the skirting board without hurting it.
The bat looks quite comfortable there. So all I'm going to do is put my hand underneath it, let it drop onto my fingers.
What type of bat is that?
It's a little pipistrelle bat.
Pipistrelle.
Pipistrelle bats are found all over Europe. They're the smallest species of bat, but there's more of them than any other type.
They're really sweet. Look at their little toes. All the toes are working there. You can see how it's moving.
They're equally at home in woodland and urban areas, so they can sometimes end up in your house.
Have you got a tea towel that I could borrow? I'm going to put it straight outside. I'm not going to put it on top of the tea towel because if I do that, then a bird can just swoop down and eat it. So if it's inside a tea towel, if you just pop it down there and I'll put it inside. Oh, there you go. So what we'll do is we'll let it hold on to that and we'll just hang this tea towel up.
Leave it out overnight and I'll have a look in the morning to see if it's gone in, probably found all its mates again, I would think.
Connie's dealt with a few bats in her time, and the old tea towel trick is one she's used often with great success.
Right, I'm just going to peg him out on the line in this tea towel. And just, he's inside here. I'll just peg it on the line like that. They're very good at gripping on. He's in there. And then I'll just leave that on, and by the time when it gets dark, he'll just make his way out to find food. But he's not injured, so there's no point in me taking him anywhere. I'm better giving him this chance. And I'll phone Louise tomorrow and make sure he went.
As predicted by Connie, the bat waited until night time and made his escape from the clothesline back to where he came from. Good job, Connie. Sooty, our badly matted cat from Firhill, is about to be examined by Scottish SPCA vet Ian Futter.
It really is like dreadlocks, actually, isn't it? I've never seen one quite like this. It's common for cats to have huge big mats on their back because it's the bit of their body that they struggle sometimes to get round to and groom properly, particularly as they get older and less inclined to keep themselves clean. So that's when it becomes more of the owner's responsibility, particularly with long-haired cats, to keep them groomed properly. We'll need to clip these right back. We've started taking some of the easy stuff off. The trouble is if you do it blind and particularly if they're conscious and they're moving, you can actually cut their skin very, very easily, even with proper clippers. So the last thing you ever want to do is take a pair of scissors to this because you'll just end up cutting big holes in the cat.
As Ian continues to examine Sooty, he discovers mats aren't the only problem. A piece of tooth has just fallen out of Sooty's mouth.
The reason he's not grooming himself well is because he's got a sore mouth, and it must be painful enough eating without grooming himself. So one of the priorities for him is to get his mouth sorted first, and then if we can clip his coat right back, he may actually start grooming himself properly once his mouth's healed.
Sooty's about 18 years old, so Ian will take a blood test to make sure the liver and kidneys are working as they should be. That'll let him know if the cat is strong enough to survive an operation under general anaesthetic. Sooty will probably need to have several teeth removed before Ian and his team get around to cutting out the mats. Still to come.
I won't touch him at all. I'm just going to simply take the straps off, let him make his own way to the water.
And Sooty's surgery has some teething problems. Sooty, the pensioner cat brought in with Dreadlock-style mats, is about to undergo surgery. Despite her age, she's around 18. Blood and heart tests indicate she's strong enough to survive. But before vet Ian Futter gets to the mats, he has to take care of the problem in Sooty's mouth.
First of all, it's an examination of the mouth to see what state it's actually in, assess the teeth that are left in the mouth and see whether they're healthy or not, how much calculus there is on them, whether they just need to be cleaned or whether there actually any of them are diseased enough to need to be removed. Right, Lauren, if you could get the dental instruments for me and I'll keep an eye on her.
From Ian's previous examination, it seems Sooty's teeth are worse on the left side of her mouth. So that's where Ian will be starting.
In order to remove the tooth, I have to break down the ligament that attaches the tooth to the bone. So what I'm doing with this luxator is trying to luxate the tooth out of its socket, basically. If I don't break this ligament down, then it's almost impossible to remove the tooth. You see how easily that tooth's coming out? So she's already lost a few teeth in the past that have just come out naturally. But what I'm going to assess is whether she needs any more taken out. I'm just scraping off some of the calculus and having a look at the teeth underneath. And I think, to be honest, she really could do with having those 2 teeth taken out as well.
It looks like the first stage of wee Sooty's operation is going well. But once vet Ian pulls out all the teeth that are rotten, Sooty will still have to stay sedated while he gets to work on the dreadlocks. We'll be back soon to see how she gets on. The trouble with allegations of dog neglect is that often they're actually complaints about barking. And the Scottish SPCA doesn't deal with those. But all calls have to be answered, so Inspector Leanne McPake is in Falkirk to check out an accusation that a young Staffordshire Bull Terrier called Tyson is left on his own for long periods of time.
He's only a baby, and it's the fact of getting him used to me going out and him being on his own. Yeah. He gets left with his water, he gets left with his food, he gets left with a bone.
No, that's how.
And it still doesn't. I mean, he wrecked my house and everything, and my sister brought me down a cage. So basically, like, rather than I'm wrecking the house when I'm out, like, I've just got that. That just came down the other night, and yesterday was the first time I put him in it, and I ran to the shop and I was back.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I do know that he barks.
Tyson's lively, but that's probably just because he's so young and hasn't been trained yet. Like most Staffies, he loves children and gets on with owner Evelyn's son Paul, which is a good sign.
He's fantastic with kids. I've had him since he was 8 weeks old. It was my sister's dog that obviously had pups, and I got him from my sister. He's brilliant. He's good-natured. He's great with my 2 kids. I mean, he's great. As soon as my little girl comes in from school, he jumps up, kisses her. Like, that's him. He's absolutely fantastic with them. I've got the cage just to basically, like, when I'm out, you can sit in that and he's not, like, running everywhere or, like, maybe, like, ruining anything, because he's got a habit of chewing the shoes.
The complaint had come into us about a dog neglect, the dog getting left for long periods of time. To be honest, couldn't have been further from the truth. The dog was a lovely dog in great condition. Ty, 11 months old Staffie, really, really friendly, really good with the ladies' kids. He does have separation anxiety, which a lot of dogs have, and they tend to bark and yelp.
So I think maybe that's where the complaints come from.
Inspector Leanne seems sympathetic to Evelyn.
A few weekends ago I was walking up the path with him and 3 guys stopped me and one of them was like, "Is that a Staffie puppy?" And I was like, "Yes," and he's like, "God, he's strong." And I'm like, "I know him, like he'll be a year in August."
Training classes obviously can help with teaching them not to pull. With his age and breed, if you're not looking to breed from him, get him neutered. If there is schemes available to help, especially with staffies, to get them neutered. So if it's a financial problem, then there is help out there for
I'm
you.
definitely looking at doing that. Because my sister was saying, "Yeah, but can you imagine?" And he was like, "God," she was like, "Can you not like get artificial ones for him?" And I was like,
I don't think you'll notice the difference.
"No, you
will
won't
you?
notice the difference."
You won't notice the difference. It'll also maybe help him just quieten down a wee bit. It might not help with the separation, but it'll help him just calm down.
That is really just his problem, is the fact that he was used to being on his own.
He's got to learn to be left for short periods of time by himself. Every dog, you can't stay with them 24/7, it's just not feasible. So the owner does seem to be doing the right things by, she's got a cage for him to go in, as long as they're water and things, it can keep them, a lot of dogs feel quite safe within the cage because their bed and things are in that area, so it can be a good way to sort of train your dog so that it's not also destroying the house but also feeling safe and secure.
It'll take time to get Tyson trained not to bark constantly when he's on his own. But with patience and a bit of hard work, he should get over his separation issues and settle down into being an obedient family pet. Back at Cardonald, and Scottish SPCA vet Ian Futter has taken out several rotting teeth that were stopping 18-year-old cat Sooty from grooming herself. Now he can finally start removing the matted hair that brought her into the centre in the first place.
I've never seen a cat with dreadlocks before. Just to warn owners, don't ever try and take a pair of scissors to your cat. If I were to nick that by mistake, you'd end up with a big rip because their skin is so flexible, particularly in an older cat like this. Don't use a pair of scissors on them.
Sooty will be groomed now. She'll then be given pure oxygen for a few minutes to help her wake up. The tube will be taken out, and she'll need a couple of hours to come round from the anaesthetic.
I anticipate her being with us for a week, probably. We'll want to check her mouth a few times during that period and make sure it's healing okay. Because if it's not, then it may be that we need to adjust what antibiotics we're using. But I want to make sure that when she goes home, she'll be eating properly. So we need to make sure she's eating properly in here before she goes home.
Sooty's fur will take a few months to grow back. But so long as her owner grooms her, she should be fine. Animal Rescue Officer Duncan Robertson's arrived at Deadridge Pond in Livingston. He'll be releasing a big male swan that had been treated at Fishcross after swallowing some fishing line. He's been missed by locals who love their swans.
They're very important to the area. Small children, elderly people just going walks, you know, throughout Deadridge, always stop at the pond and look at the swans and the ducks and all the wildlife. So very delighted to see them back.
I'm just going to wait for the mum and the cygnets to come back round again so they can obviously catch sight of him. I won't touch him at all, I'm just going to simply take the straps off, let him make his own way to the water.
Duncan couldn't have hoped for a smoother release.
It's good to see it getting back to his family, and I was really happy. Kind of reunion, they went straight up to each other and acknowledged each other, and the cygnets were straight across to him as well. They obviously knew that was their dad.
Swans normally mate for life, so let's hope nothing else splits up this pair and they could continue to live at Deadridge for the rest of their lives. It's a week since Sooty the cat had her teeth removed and her badly matted fur shaved off. She's much better and will be going back home today.
Sooty is really progressing well. The matting was particularly peculiar because it looked like dreadlocks and not normal matting that you would get in an animal where it tears at the skin and causes really big problems. So Sooty wasn't in pain and wasn't really distressed, although it looked horrendous. So that's all been done by the welfare staff, and the veterinary staff have done further tests. So there are a couple of medical aspects that need to be looked at, and we'll speak to the owner about that when we get Sooty back to her home.
The Scottish SPCA accepted that Sooty's owner is caring, but she needed help with grooming. In this case, the society decided it wouldn't be in her or Sooty's best interests to remove the cat. They've explained she must look after Sooty from now on, and if she has more problems, she can get back in touch at any time. It's a happy ending all round, and Sooty looks delighted to be back home.